We hear it all the time. AI is about to completely change medicine. We're talking faster diagnoses, better accuracy, the whole 9 yards. But as these incredibly powerful tools start showing up in our doctor's offices, it really brings up one huge question. How can we, and maybe more importantly, how can our doctors actually trust the algorithm?
Okay, so let me throw a number at you. 88.9%. Imagine a brand new AI tool for spotting skin cancer, and that's the number splashed across the headlines. 88.9% accurate. I mean, that sounds like a massive breakthrough, right? It feels like the kind of thing that's ready to be rolled out into clinics tomorrow.
And yeah, with an accuracy rate like that, it's not just a small step forward, it's a total game changer. You're talking about a tool that could literally save lives, spotting a deadly disease way earlier, maybe even more reliably than a trained human eye can. The promise here is just immense. But what if that incredible number was hiding something? Something seriously wrong? What if the AI's biggest strength was also its most dangerous, fatal flaw? So this isn't just some what-if scenario. That 88.9% accurate model, it was real. A real AI designed to diagnose skin cancer. And the problem at its core? Well, it shines a massive spotlight on a hidden danger that's lurking in a lot of medical AI. So what went wrong? Get this. The reason the algorithm was so accurate is because it was trained on a data set that was, well, basically all the same. Over 95% of the images it learned from were of white skin. So for, a massive chunk of the world's population, this amazing new tool wasn't just a little bit off. It was basically useless and potentially very, very dangerous. And believe me, this is not a one-off thing. It happens all over the place. Researchers found an AI test for Alzheimer's that pretty much only worked if you spoke a very specific Canadian dialect of English. We've all heard about facial recognition systems being way less accurate for people with darker skin. Heck, even the fitness tracker on your wrist right now might be less accurate at reading your heart rate if you have darker skin. This problem of bias, it's everywhere. Okay, so if we're going to fix this problem, we first have to really understand what's causing it. Let's do a quick diagnosis and break down the 4 main types of bias that can poison these AI models right from the start. All right, so there are basically 4 big ways this can go wrong. First up, you've got representation bias. That's exactly what we saw with the skin cancer AI. The training data just doesn't look like the real world. Then there's measurement bias. This is when the data itself is flawed, maybe because it oversimplifies something complex. Think about diagnosing heart disease based mostly on male symptoms. You can see how that would lead to big problems for women. Third is historical bias. This one's tricky. It's when the data reflects real-world injustices and the AI just learns to perpetuate them. A classic example is using something like a zip code to predict health outcomes, which can end up discriminating against poorer communities. And finally, there's aggregation bias. This is when we get lazy and just lump all sorts of different patient groups together, ignoring key differences that could completely change the results. So why does this matter right now? Why is it so urgent? Because AI in medicine isn't some sci-fi future. It's already here. Just look at the number of AI-powered medical devices the FDA has approved. It has absolutely exploded in just the past few years. The train has definitely left the station. And where is all this AI showing up? Well, if you look at the approvals, one field dominates: radiology. A whopping 77%, that is a staggering number, of all these FDA-approved AI devices are for radiology. It's completely changing the game for how things like X-rays and MRIs are analyzed. Now, when a technology moves this fast, everyone starts scrambling to write the rulebook. So let's take a look at how the world is trying to build some guardrails here to make sure these incredibly powerful tools are actually used safely and, ethically. And right now, we're seeing 2 pretty different philosophies taking shape. On one hand, you've got the European Union. They've gone with the EU AI Act. It's this big, comprehensive, legally binding rulebook. They classify AI based on a risk from unacceptable all the way down to minimal. It's very top-down, very centralized. Then, on the other hand, you have the US approach. It's much more flexible, based on an executive order. It's not a strict law, but more like a set of guidelines that encourages different industries to develop their own standards. But look, government rules are only one part of the solution, right? The bigger question is, how do we actually build AI that's trustworthy from the very beginning? What's the blueprint for that? Well, it all boils down to this big idea called responsible AI. And it's not just about what the AI can do, it's about how it's developed and how it's used. It's basically a whole framework built on 3 pillars: ethics, transparency, and accountability. And you can't have trustworthy AI without trustworthy data.
It's like building a house on a shaky foundation. It's just not going to work. In the drug development world, there's a gold standard for this called ALCOA Plus. It's an acronym that means all data has to be attributable, legible, contemporaneous, original, and accurate. And the plus sign adds that it also needs to be complete, consistent, enduring, and available. If your data doesn't check all those boxes, your AI is going to be in big trouble.
But even if you have perfect regulations and perfect data, there's still one safeguard that is more critical than anything else. It's not a more powerful computer, it's not a fancier algorithm, it's a person. It's what we call the human in the loop, someone providing that essential dose of oversight and good old-fashioned common sense.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. Wait a minute. Isn't the whole point of AI to get rid of human error? So why is it so important to keep a person involved? Well, take a look at this. This diagram of a rat's anatomy was made by an AI, and it is complete nonsense. The labels are just gibberish. I mean, dioductal stem cells, testim cells, what even is a retitat? But here's the crazy part. This image actually passed peer review and was published in a scientific journal before someone noticed and it was retracted. This is a classic example of what's called an AI hallucination, and it's a perfect kind of scary reminder that without a human checking the work, these systems can fail in some really weird ways. So where does all this leave us? Look, I know all these challenges can sound pretty daunting, but the truth is, this is actually a pretty normal and predictable part of any huge new technology coming along. We're basically just on that familiar road from crazy hype to boring, practical reality.
In the tech world, there's a famous chart for this called the Gartner hype cycle. And with AI, you could say we're just coming down from the peak of inflated expectations. That's where we all thought it was magic and would fix everything overnight. Now we're heading into the trough of disillusionment, which is where we are now, finding all the flaws and problems. But that's a good thing, because that's a necessary step to eventually get to the plateau of productivity, where AI stops being hype and starts being a genuinely useful, reliable tool. So how do we climb out of that trough and get to the plateau? Well, it comes down to doing the hard work. It means we have to rigorously test and validate every single AI tool. We need that relentless focus on data integrity, using frameworks like ALCOA Plus. We absolutely have to mandate human oversight and accountability. We need countries to work together on common standards. And maybe most importantly, we have to demand transparency. These AIs can't be black boxes. We need to understand how they're making their decisions.
And all of this brings us back to the biggest, most important question of all. A question we have to answer as we move forward. When the algorithm gets it wrong, when it makes a mistake that affects someone's health or even their life, who's on the hook? Who is ultimately accountable? Is it the person who coded it? The doctor who trusted its output? The hospital that bought the software? The regulator who gave it the green light? Answering that, well, that's the real challenge at the very heart of learning to trust the algorithm. You know,